Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm not dressed up, but we are out here live outside of Razorback Stadium. This is your Pig Trail Nation report. Let's talk about this upcoming matchup between the Hogs and the Bulldogs, because it is two teams that are winless in SEC play in 2025. But you shouldn't be sleeping on the Mississippi State Bulldogs at home, thinking this game is going to be a cakewalk. Jeff Lebby's offense is a very hard challenge to stop. They average 410 yards per game behind Blake Shapen in the run-pass options. It's a state team that puts up 32.6 points per game, but the interim head Hog believes that they can stop the RPO. The Hogs can get their first SEC win of 2025.
There's different aspects to it. They like to spread out their splits, and they like to go fast.
The good news for Hog fans and the Hog team itself, and specifically their defensive leaders, they haven't had a lot of success in recent history against Mississippi State.
Look, at the end of the day, it never comes down to one play. Let's be real. For people out there who are coming after Charles Davlon, should he have caught it? Sure. But you can look two plays before that. Should Vahiva Aloy have tried to turn the double play and end the game there? Absolutely. Should Arkansas's bats have gotten going earlier in this game? Also, yes. It comes down to a million things, but something funny in sports and in life is that history doesn't repeat. It rhymes. And tonight with that drop ball, it just rhymes to moments that give Razorback fans absolute heartbreak. Unfortunately, 2025, as great as the season was, won't end with a championship.
I mean, he did it. Wherever they called him, he was on his way. And he loved the university, big time.
There wasn't a better ambassador for Arkansas than England. After spending over 4 decades on the Hill, he was the rock for Arkansas basketball at the peak of the program's history.
McDaniel will end it in style. Arkansas is in Hog heaven.
He was my right hand. You know, if he said you couldn't do it, then it wouldn't be done. So I tell my players, if you think you need something hurt, go see Diamond. If Diamond excuse you, you excuse. If Diamond says go to work, you go to work.
He'd often introduce himself as Dave or Mr. England. Richardson and his guys knew him as something else.
Dave, you know, had a nickname called Diamond. When you talk about a diamond, that's what he was. I can say that more than half of the wins had something to do with David being able to keep young men on the floor.
No matter the generation of Razorback, everyone has a story about Diamond Dave.
He was a guy that you could go talk to and, you know, ask for advice, you know, if you're dating somebody, or, you know, politics, or, you know, favorite sports teams, and talk to other sports, just basketball. And, you know, that goes a long way when you have somebody else you can lean on outside of your head coach, your assistant coaches, your teammates, your mom and dad, whatever.
I always felt like Dave was kind of a bridge from the staff to the coaches and vice versa. I'm sure he was able to impart certain information with them and then be able to share certain information with us to kind of keep the ship on the right path, you know, and not really violate our trust, which was the big thing, you know. Obviously, his job was to kind of, you know, make sure we were all healthy and ready to go for practice and games. But he was a mentor, you know, he was a father figure, and then he was like a big brother also.
I could never say anything other than thank Dave for helping me become who I became from a basketball standpoint.
Arkansas soccer moving up in the polls following an undefeated week with a draw against then number 10 South Carolina and a win over then number 13 Mississippi State. The Razorbacks check in at 6 in this week's rankings. Colby Hale's team back on the road this Friday night in Athens, taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. Happy Wednesday night. Welcome into your Pig Trail Nation report. I'm Evan Kamikow. Let's go from one form of football to the other. The Arkansas football team back from their bye week, and this week they've got a trip to Knoxville to take on the 12th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Led by UCLA transfer quarterback Joey Aguilar, the Vols have the #1 scoring offense in the country, averaging 51 points with 33 touchdowns on the season. Aguilar has been carving defenses so far with a 164 QB rating per ESPN. Their running game, just as good. The Vols average 115.2 yards per game on the ground, led by Deshaun Bishop, who has 4 touchdowns on the young season. The Razorbacks know the challenge that lies ahead, but they're confident in the recent improvements they've been making on the defensive side of the ball in practice.
They got really good players on the perimeter. They have a really good quarterback, really good running back. They like to run the ball, and then here come the deep shots along with the tempo. You know, watching film, executing the calls that were given in practice, and just doing my job. If you just do your job, the plays that and make the plays that come to you, we look up at the scoreboard, we'll be satisfied with the result.
Definitely a competitive guy. They have a great offense, but again, like I say all the time, it's just a matter of how we present ourselves towards them. Anybody can be beat, so we shall see.
The Hogs and Vols get underway this upcoming Saturday, October 11th. Kickoff slated for 3:15 p.m. Hogs down by 6. Boogie Flan gonna find Big Z for his first 3 of the night. We'll circle back to Z in just a little bit. Now it's a 2-point game. Aduthero driving to the paint, gets the floater to go, but this is not good for the Hogs. Trevin Brazil goes down to the ground. He would not return to the game. The Hogs front court gets a bit thinner. 4 seconds now to halftime. Boogie Flan looking to make something happen with the final shot. He's sent to the line to shoot 2. Flan is going to hit the first one. He misses the second one, so the Hogs trail by 1 at the break. 3 minutes in the second half now. Hogs down 3. Wagner, Big Z, swish. Hogs tie the game. Few minutes later, Arkansas 5 floater. Flan, pure. Troy cuts within 3, but the Hogs don't look back, and that's thanks to this guy. Big Z doing it on defense this time. He had 5 blocks on the night, but it doesn't end there. Later in the possession for 3. He hits it. He finished with 6 tonight. Maybe it's the buzz cut. Maybe it's the headband. I don't know. Big Z's 19 points. What I do know is that it helped the Hogs get a gritty win over Troy, 65-49. All right. Before we go, big congrats to John Daly Jr., who was recently named SEC Men's Golfer of the Week following his win at the Blessings Collegiate Invitational last week. A big congrats to little John. Guys, to put it in perspective, Arkansas as a team, the men won by 17 strokes, the women won by 36. An unreal week at the Blessings. Wow. Pretty cool to see what happens. And hey, should be a fun weekend in Knoxville. Hopefully we get an upset. Arkansas hasn't lost to Tennessee since 2007.